Today we're going to be doing a Q&A that's going to involve a little bit of this. Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel Kazzalistic, and hi to my new subscribers. Thank you very much for joining me. It's my 100th vlog. I can't believe that I've actually stuck it out this long and I've actually made it this far, that you guys are even watching me, so I just want to say thank you. So to mark the fact that it is the 100th vlog and just to do something a little bit different, today is going to be a Q&A video, which I'm sure you've already gathered from the introduction. So I decided to pre-record it rather than doing it live, simply because I've hurt my back. So I'm sort of struggling to sit in one position for a prolonged period of time, and if obviously I was doing it live, it would obviously be more than the time that I'm recording on this. So apologies if some of you were hoping for it live, but I may still do a live stream at some point. I just haven't decided what or when. Yeah, so I'm just going to crack on with it. So hopefully this will give you a bit more of an insight about me as a person and the things that I'm interested in. And of course, if any of you guys have any further questions in the future, I can always do another one. So, and I apologise ahead of time for any mispronunciation of names. Hopefully I'll pronounce them all right, but I might not do surnames because surnames always trip me up. Okay, so question number one comes from GB Maltese, who is the lovely Grace here on YouTube. I'll link her channel down in the description if you haven't come across her before. Grace says, do you have a favourite book you read as a child and what is it? I actually had quite a few books that I loved as a child. My mum says that when I was very, very young, I really loved I had a big nursery rhyme book. I can't remember who produced it or who it was by or anything, but that was one of my favourite things. But actually from my memory, when I was young, so I'm talking under 10, probably my favourite two books were the Naughty Amelia Jane series, which was written by Enid Blyton. Pretty much self-explanatory. It's about a little girl called Amelia Jane who's very naughty. Really loved those. And the other one was Chicken Licking. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of that story. I liked the version by Vera Southgate, which is one of the original Ladybird books. I'm a 70s child. Yeah, so you have Chicken Licking, Foxy Loxy, Goosey Lucy, all that stuff. And I have seen the newer versions where the fox doesn't eat Chicken Licking and his friends. My version he did, so but it never bothered me as a child. I quite loved it, and it is real life. Foxes do eat chickens and so forth, so that was one of my favourite ones as a young child. When I was a teenager, I had two forms of favourite books. I went through a very big stage of reading the Adrian Mole books, so particularly the Secret Diary of Adrian Mole, aged 13 3/4 by Sue Townsend. That was a whole series of books, and she's even done books into the adulthood. I haven't read those ones, I will admit, but I absolutely loved those. He was a little bit of a misfit, didn't fit anywhere, and that's kind of where I was at as a teenager, so I very much identified with the character. I think my all-time favourite book as a teenager, though, was actually Forever by a lady called Judy Blume. She wrote quite a few books, and I've read pretty much, I think, all of them when I was a teenager, bar about 2 or 3 that I just couldn't get hold of. But my favourite one is Forever, and primarily because there's a bit of naughty stuff in there. Just very mild. It wasn't anything, but obviously when you're a teenager, anything like that's woo, very exciting. It's basically about first love and first experiences, that we should say. So, but I absolutely loved that book, and I read that quite a few times over. So they're my favourite ones as a child, so it just depends on which age bit you wanted to know. So I've covered sort of younger and older. Grace also asked, what is your favourite food? Snack-wise, my favourite food is crisps. I'm a bit of a junkie in that respect. Quite ashamed of it, but it is what it is. I've been like that since I was a teenager. I think you call them chips in the US. So things that come in bags and potato, you know, made of potatoes. And as far as meals go, I would say my favourite meal is beef steak and chips. Grace also asked, what is your favourite type of object to crochet? That's a really, really difficult one for me. when I first learned and really got going, I would definitely say my favourite thing to make was granny square blankets, and I did make a couple of quite large ones, one of which I have shown on the channel, which I made for a friend who's since passed away, and one was the first granny square I made when I re-picked up crochet as an adult. Now, to be honest, I don't have a favourite thing to make. I like the variety. I do enjoy doing a blanket still. I like it when it's just a monotonous pattern. I can watch TV, I haven't got to overly think about what I'm doing. I do really enjoy those, but I also do enjoy the challenge of doing new things. So I'm working on something that has come up as a YouTube tutorial just recently, something I've never made before. I'm actually enjoying the challenge of that and learning the process and how to make it. So I don't really have a particular favourite thing, just because I enjoy variety, and that's why there's so much variety, well, at least I hope you think there is, on my channel with the things I make, because I just enjoy learning and challenging myself and trying new things. And so I don't really have a favourite one, but yeah, originally it was certainly blankets. Just depends on my mood. So I hope that's answered your question, Grace. Okay, so the next question is from Jane. Jane said, how and when did you start your crafts? Well, it's a bit of a long-winded answer really, so I'm going to try and sort of make it as quick as possible. So, when I was a child, both my mum and my nana taught me to knit. I'm not an accomplished knitter, I'm still quite a basic knitter, but I can knit. When I was a child, one of my stepsisters that I had at the time, they're not in my life anymore, because that relationship with my mum and my stepdad broke down. But my stepsister at the time did teach me to crochet, and I was doing granny squares. Now, somewhere packed away in a box somewhere at my mum's is my original first ever granny square, which never got completed, which I'm itching to find to finish. I then forgot everything that I knew about crochet, and I didn't pick that up until later in my life. I've always drawn and done drawing and painting from as far back as my mum can remember. Pretty much as soon as I was able to hold a pen, I was painting and drawing. When I was at primary school, I was about 6 or 7, I think. I did a painting of a cow. Looking back, it was pretty basic, but the school for some reason thought it was wonderful, and it was actually displayed in the local art gallery in my town, and I remember going to see that up on the wall. My mum has still got that packed away somewhere. Unfortunately, we don't know exactly where it is, otherwise I would have shown you on camera for a bit of a giggle. I then did GCSE art, and then went on to A level, which I passed. So again, it was a lot of painting and drawing. I haven't really done much painting and drawing since, particularly not drawing. I have done some painting since then. I'm not an accomplished painter, but I get by. I'm not the worst, but I'm not the best, if you see what I mean. And then basically when I became unwell with my breakdown, I started doing a little bit of patchwork on the what's the Wedgwood unit, which is the mental health ward where I was an outpatient in the local hospital. They taught me some very basic patchwork, so I have done some of that. And then I then went on and did jewellery making, and I did a card making class for a while. I did struggle because mentally I wasn't well, but it was something that I did continue at home. So I did do jewellery making and card making for quite a while. Biggest problem is they're quite messy things. You've got to have a lot of different components out, so it wasn't very conducive to sitting in the evening and relaxing. That was my problem. I was alright if I was at a table, but not sat on the sofa. Which then leads me into my crochet again. I was for a while running an art group at the local Mind Centre, which is a mental health charity here in the UK, in my hometown. And one of the ladies that was coming to my group knew how to crochet, and I wanted to relearn. So she taught me the UK treble or US double stitch. That was the first stitch she showed me, rather than the more simple stitches. And that's the pieces that I showed you on the encouragement for beginners video were some of the pieces that basically came out of me practicing that stitch basically, and then accidentally doing things like single crochet, this is US terms, without even realizing it. I then stopped the crochet because I got frustrated. I didn't know about YouTube at that point. And then in 2014, where I become aware of YouTube, I was watching lots of people, not craft stuff, I didn't realise there was craft stuff on YouTube to start with, lots of other channels, and just all vlogs and that kind of thing, and stumbled across a crochet one, and actually it was Jayda and Stitches that was the one that I stumbled across. And at that point Jayda was only at about, she was just under 1,000 subscribers, so her channel was about my size. She's now, I think she's heading towards 150,000, so her channel has grown enormously. So it was around about, I think it was around about September, October time in 2014 that I started picking. I'd had a relationship break down, and I thought now's the time to do something for myself. So that's when I relearnt crochet. I taught myself through YouTube. Yeah, and I haven't looked back since. So I hope that's answered your question. Sorry, it's a bit long-winded. Gosh, we're 11 minutes in, or we're not even halfway through the questions. Okay, Julie said, what is your favourite food, and do you prefer tea or coffee? Well, I've already answered the favourite food one. It's obviously crisps or steak and chips. As far as tea or coffee, coffee actually makes me ill. I suffer from a condition called irritable bowel syndrome, and coffee really makes that quite bad. Also, the amount of caffeine that is in coffee actually makes my anxiety and panic attacks worse. So really, for health reasons, I can't drink it. And to be honest, it's always just made me feel ill. I don't really enjoy coffee. I have the occasional latte every now and then, but it's very, very rare I would do that. I do like normal British tea. That is my all-time favourite drink. However, again, it does have caffeine in it. I have used decaffeinated, but it does still have an effect on me. So what I do is I have a normal British cup of tea in the first thing in the morning, because my medication has side effects that are quite have a sedative effect. So it's just to help me wake up. It can upset my IBS some mornings, not always. So I do have to kind of work out whether it's a good morning to have it or not. And then I switch to herbal tea, so I tend to like things like strawberry and vanilla teas. I've never really got into green tea and chamomile and that. I really don't like those. So that's mainly what I drink, and I also drink squash as well. So sort of some fruits, sort of squash, you know, what you dilute. But yes, definitely, I'm definitely tea over coffee. Bridget has asked 4 questions. So the first one is, what time of day do you usually crochet? That does vary. It depends what I'm doing on the day. For instance, on a Tuesday, I don't usually crochet, don't really crochet at all. On average, we try and get my friends' needs sorted out in the morning or early afternoon. I try and get any chores done in that time. So I tend to crochet mid-afternoon if I have time and I don't have to go out anywhere, or if not, it'll be early evening. It's usually one or the other. But it does vary day to day. Obviously, being a carer, I have to fit around her needs. How much time do you devote to crocheting every day? Again, this varies wildly. Some days I don't, so on a Tuesday I very rarely crochet. I say on average I probably do it a couple of hours a day. Sometimes it's more. So we try and use Sunday as our lazy day. So apart from doing the very basics of cooking food and helping her bath and dress, I tend to spend more time crocheting on a Sunday, so I would spend most of the afternoon on a Sunday. And that's usually because I'm trying to get something finished to show you guys on a Tuesday. But again, it varies, depends how ill she is, what's going on with me health wise at the moment, so it does vary, but I'd say on average probably about 2 hours a day. Next question she's asked is, do you usually watch TV while you crochet, and what kind of programs do you like? The simple answer is yes, I do watch TV. Quite often I watch stuff on my tablet, so I will watch things like YouTube. I'll be catching up with you know, craft vlogs. I do watch some other people, so I like watching Kid Behind the Camera, who created the Angry Grandpa show, and I used to like McJuggernuggets. I don't watch him quite so much now. Yeah, I like daily vlogs, so I like Ellie and Jared, things like Daily Bumps, stuff like that. So YouTube, it does vary. And obviously the crochet vlogs, there's people like Jan and Sean, and there's hundreds of people I watch, both tutorials and just vlogs. So I do watch a lot of YouTube. I don't tend to watch anything if I'm working from a tutorial. That's just so that I can concentrate and don't make mistakes. But if I'm not using a tutorial and I am just using a pattern, I do watch a lot of stuff on Netflix. I do love series, so some of the series I've watched are Once Upon a Time, Stranger Things, which is a new series coming out soon, which I'm quite excited about. I like Vampire Diaries, I liked Falling Skies, that kind of thing. I'm not into horror. As far as normal TV goes, I like watching things like X Factor, and as far as soaps go, I like watching EastEnders, but that's about my limit. Do like watching animal programs. Yeah, so it varies. I'm finding the quality of UK TV has gone downhill quite a lot over the last year. There's not a lot I like watching on UK TV. It's got a bit rubbish. As far as films go that are on TV, I will watch most things. The only thing I don't watch is horror. So I hope that's answered your question a bit, but I tend to be on Netflix more than I'm anywhere else. And the last question she's asked is, does your family appreciate your crocheting? My simple answer is, well, as far as I know. I know my sister did like the blanket I made for my niece, which I did show, which was the star blanket. Star Ripple, I can't remember what it was called, Round Ripple blanket, that's what it was called by Jayda. So I know she was appreciative. I know my mum's appreciated stuff I've made her. I haven't made an awful lot for family members because I'm kind of aware that crochet is an acquired taste, I suppose. I have made stuff for some friends. Like I say, I made a blanket for a friend who's since passed away. Him and his family really did appreciate it, and his family have now kept the blanket as a sort of a keepsake and sort of memory about him, because it was on his bed when he passed away. Another friend that passed away, I made his mum some crochet roses. I know she really appreciated that. So I have done some stuff. So on the whole, I'd say yes, but I am careful about not overloading family and friends, which is why I do so much for charity. Okay, and on to the next one. Rose asks, what is your favourite colour and do you like animals? My favourite colour is quite simple. It's purple. Always has been. Even when I was a child, it was always, when I was a child it was kind of more lilac colours. As I've got older, I like the darker purple, so more kind of like the dark purple plum colours are my absolute favourite now. But any shade of purple I do really, really love. As far as animals, yes, I love animals. I've always had animals in my life. When I was growing up, we had dogs, budgerigars, we had cats and fish. I've had hamsters and guinea pigs since I've been an adult. I've had fish, and currently we have 2 cockatiels, one male, one female. The female is tame, the male is not. And 1 bearded dragon, which is a lizard. So yes, the female cockatiel, who is the tame one, is currently nibbling her feet. She's grooming, so she's nice and quiet today. So next question is from Deb, and she says, have you ever been to the US? No, is the simple answer. I have been to Canada a couple of times, so I've not been far from the US. It is somewhere I would like to go. Unfortunately, at the moment, being a carer is just not something I'm realistically going to be able to afford to do anytime soon. Should I win the lottery, which I don't do anyway, but you know what I mean, if I suddenly had a windfall and had the financial ability to go, yes, I would love to go to the US. One of the places that I would like to go is to go to Yellowstone National Park. I do like seeing wildlife and stuff. I'd also like to go to New England in the autumn, or fall as you call it in the US. I'd also like to go and see Niagara Falls. I know that's controversial because that technically could be Canada, but obviously it depends which side of the border you go, because obviously it's on the US-Canadian border, but I would like to see Niagara Falls as well because I do love waterfalls. When I went to Canada, I went to the Rocky Mountains side of Canada, so Vancouver, Jasper, Banff, Vancouver Island, Lake Louise, and then flew out of Calgary. So I have seen bears, I've seen a wolf, I've seen a coyote, so much wildlife, elks, it's just incredible. I've got so many amazing photographs. The mountains are incredible. Yeah, it's just breathtaking. So I would like to see the US because obviously you've got such varied terrain there, but I would like to see some of the Rocky Mountains in the US as well, because obviously the mountain range extends quite a long way down. So there's lots in the US I would like to see, obviously, but no, I haven't been as yet. Deb also asks, what is your favourite yarn to work with? I've kind of got three. I don't have one specific one. I would say probably my all-time favourite to actually work with, although I don't have a lot of, fun enough, is Stylecraft Special DK. It's a nice cheap acrylic. It doesn't split. It's nice to work with. It's lovely and soft. I do really love my Mariner double knit yarn, but I prefer the older Mariner yarn. The Mariner yarn I was using 3 years ago was really soft, just as nice to work with as Stylecraft, and a little bit cheaper. In the last couple of years it's got quite rough to work with. It doesn't feel as nice. It still washes and becomes very soft, but for doing things like amigurumi it's quite uncomfortable to work with, and it does make your hands quite sore. For the more expensive yarns, which I've only worked with this once, and I'm still working on a big project for that, although I haven't done much on it for a while, which is a big virus blanket, was the Signet Boho Spirit yarn. I do really like that. That again is an acrylic yarn, so pretty much acrylic is my favourite. I do like those, but I'd say probably Stylecraft is the nicest one to work with. Deb also asks, what are some of your favourite dishes to cook? My favourite dish is takeaway. Simple answer is I don't really like cooking. It's something I do out of necessity. If I had to pick a specific meal, I would say probably stir fry, because it's pretty quick and easy. I'm not blessed with being a particularly good cook. I get by, I should say. Okay, right, I'm just going to have to pause the camera so I can reset it, otherwise we're going to run out of time. And we're back. I bet you didn't even blink, did you? Okay, so the next question is from Nikki. And Nikki asks, do you use those lights behind you? So she's talking about these things here. The answer is yes, we do use them. They're actually on a timer and come on every evening. However, they are actually broken. So from this point here up that direction, that part of the string has stopped working. It occasionally comes, it's not the bulbs haven't blown. I think there's something wrong with the wiring. I've had these for, must be at least 10 years, so they are getting quite old now. So I am actually planning to replace them if we can afford to buy some more. but the rest of the string does work. It goes up above my head and then it goes further across, it comes down and does like that, but over that side. But yes, we do use them and they do work. It's just that one section of it is broken at the moment, which is why I don't have it on while I'm filming, because I'm sure somebody would pull me up on the fact my lights are broken. You'd be surprised what people complain about on YouTube. Okay, the next question is from Craft Angel 74, and the question is, do you have any other hobbies besides crochet, and are they craft related? I've kind of already answered this. I do jewellery making, card making, basic patchwork, knitting, painting and drawing. I will say I don't really do those very often now. A lot of my jewellery making and card making stuff is packed away in my craft sheds at my mum's, as is my painting and drawing stuff. I've got some bits and pieces. I do have my sewing machine here at the moment. And if you remember, not that long ago I mentioned I was making some project bags. I made 2 and that's as far as I've got. But I have to say my absolute love is crochet. I found the craft that excites me, relaxes me, that I'm constantly learning with. So I definitely say crochet is definitely my passion in life, and I think it now always will be. So that's quite exciting. It's taken me over 40 years to actually find a hobby that I really love, and I do really love crochet, so that will always be my first and foremost love, and the other stuff I will dabble just to keep life interesting. Sonia, who is Sonia Jones Crafts here on YouTube, has said, how do you cope with people who don't believe you have an illness due to it not being visible? So if you're new to my channel, I suffer with depression and anxiety, and I do suffer with irritable bowel syndrome, which I actually haven't talked about before, because obviously, you know, I'm English and we don't really talk about that stuff really. Well, I do in private, but not on camera. So my honest answer is I do get very frustrated. I get ticked off, annoyed. I will quite often have a grumble to myself if someone has treated me badly because of my illness. But that's sort of behind the scenes. In private, I will have a little to myself. But overall, what I try to do is I try to speak out about my illness. When I first became unwell and I went into a full breakdown, I actually hid my illness from my colleagues, a lot of my friends. I was very ashamed because I couldn't control my own mind. But the thing is, with particularly with mental illness, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain. It's no difference to your hormones going off whack, or you know, any other illness really. You know, if it's something like diabetes, for instance, you need insulin. So I speak out about it now. That's why I chose to do my mental health story, although it was a very clipped version of it in a recent video. And yeah, so the way I deal with it is to try and speak out, to teach people. Certainly my mum has learnt a lot in the time that I've been unwell, as have I. And I think even my dad, to some degree, will have to say that he's had to learn I think everybody's had to learn a new relationship with me and I with them. So I think it's an ever-growing thing. I do get frustrated, and if somebody is treating me badly, quite frankly, I'm at the point in my life where I will tell them now. That doesn't always go down well, but sometimes you have to stick up for yourself. It's a very difficult one. I do have days where I will cry when I've been treated badly and I haven't felt well enough to speak up for myself. That is something else. So it is a difficult thing, and I think any of you that, I know there's a lot of you that have got invisible illnesses, is just to speak up and stick up for yourself. Not to be horrible to other people, but just kind of explain. I find that really difficult. I've actually found that now that I've started to do that a bit more, people are a bit more understanding and will make more allowances for me. So That's the best advice I can give. That doesn't mean to say I don't get frustrated and don't get angry with people, because I do. I'm not perfect, and it is a daily thing that you have to learn. I don't really know what else to say. It's quite a difficult question to answer, but I hope that's answered your question a little bit, Sonia. So the next question is from Terri, who is the Yarn Joy podcast here on YouTube. I'm going to link all the channels, where there are the people that are actually putting videos up. I'll try and link all the channels down in the description box. And Terri says, sorry, I can't read my own writing. That's good, isn't it? What are your favourite ways to use your yarn scraps? So, the simple two things I like to do with my scraps. Some of you will recognise this. I have done some more on this. As you can see, I haven't weaved my ends in. So this is a scrap blanket that I've been working on. I just add to it as and when I've got scraps. So this is actually a double-stranded project. So you do one light strand with one dark strand, and you get this amazing effect. I think it's really lovely. You do get a lot of ends with it, and yes, I do need to sew them in before it gets any bigger. That has grown a little bit since I last shown it on camera, but that was quite a few months ago. I try and keep sort of reasonable size scraps, because sometimes they're good for amigurumi, so I do use them for that as well. And then tail ends, I do this. This is a plastic bucket with a lid, which actually I had, I think I got it from the local Poundland, and it had candy floss in it, and I can't remember what you call candy floss in America. I can't remember. I'll put it up on the screen if I remember when I'm editing. But it had candy floss in it. I obviously ate all that. And originally I was going to use this tub. I was going to put a hole in the lid and use it to stop my yarn rolling around. But then I found the magic of centre pulling, which is what I always do now. So that became unnecessary to do with the bucket. So I just put all my ends in. So, and the reason I do that is if I run out of stuffing, you can put these in some tights or stockings, I think you call them in the US, and put that inside those, and you can use it as stuffing. So it's a cheap way of having stuffing. So I just thought I would show those on camera. And then the second question Terri asked was, any go-to patterns that you like to use? I have three. I do like to always try new patterns, because I think that's how you learn. I've learnt new stitches, new techniques by trying patterns that even looked very simple on first look. However, there are three things I always go back to. One is Margaret Olander's blog, which I will link down in the description, for her hat pattern formula. So it's a very basic increase. It's just for a basic hat, and it gives the sizes for the flat diameter across before you start just doing straight rows, so when you know to stop increasing. And then when you fold the hat, once you've done sort of the sides and the front and the back, when you fold it flat, it gives you the height of the hat. I always go back to that, and I have actually printed it off a couple of times. So I always go back to that, so I'll link that down in the description. It's not so much of a pattern. There is a pattern, but it's more about measurements. I found that's the most accurate one, and that's always worked for me. So I highly recommend that. Margaret Olander is also known as Sheepishly Sharing here on YouTube. As far as anything else goes, the virus blanket, I've done more than one. So I've done the one that I showed back in May, which was a yellow and cream one. I am working on one in boho, the Signet Boho Spirit. That's going to be a much bigger project. I haven't actually worked on for a while because I've been so busy trying to get two videos out a week for you guys. That is an ongoing project, so I definitely do enjoy doing the virus blanket. I have done a virus shawl as well, so I find those quite therapeutic. I think a lot of people have. I think that's why it's become so popular. That's one of my go-to. And my absolute favourite go-to quite simply is the granny square. I learnt through Jayda in Stitches. I'll link that down below as well. And yeah, it's just, I don't have to think about it. I know how to do it now. I don't even have to use Jayda's tutorial anymore, but it's there if you know you're new and you're starting off. So I always start with a chain 4, join it with a slip stitch. Obviously you do your clusters of 3 double crochets, US terms, or trebles if you're in the UK. I always do chain 2 at the corners and chain 1 at the sides. That's it. Really easy to remember. I really enjoyed doing that, and yeah, I've done quite a few. Probably the only other one that I've only done it once, but I would go back to, was Jayda's ripple blanket pattern. I made that for my best friend for her 40th birthday. I think I did show pictures on the channel, and yeah, I did enjoy doing that. That is something else that I probably would do again. So it tends to be blanket patterns more that I go back to. I think that's because that's my original love, was blankets. So but other than that, I like variety. I like learning new stuff. I like trying new patterns. Some patterns I do swear about behind the scenes, because sometimes they're a little bit frustrating. But yeah, so hopefully that's answered your question, Terry. Candy Goth Creations, otherwise known as Lynnie here on YouTube, has asked, we all know that you love purple. Correct, I do. What colour or colours do you not like? Right, as far as working with yarn, my least favourite colour, which I think is quite common, would be black. That's just simply because it's hard to see the stitches. I do work with black, I have worked with black, I'll continue to work with black, but it is the most challenging colour to work with. So as far as yarn goes, I would say that. As far as real life goes, my least favourite colour is actually green. Not green in nature, I'm fine going outside and seeing the grass and the green trees. Well, they're not green at the moment, but you know what I mean. That doesn't bother me, but anything colour green, that stems from a three-year relationship that I had not that long ago, and then sort of, yeah, I'm trying to think, it's about 4 years ago since I left that man, and he was abusive, both mentally, physically and sexually abusive. So basically that was his favourite colour, and so now I'm kind of repulsed by green, quite frankly. And yeah, so I would say my least favourite colour is green, hence why you don't see a lot of green things on the channel, but that doesn't mean to say I wouldn't ever work with it. Lynnie also asked, what is your favourite song and movie? That's quite a difficult one to answer, because it just depends on my mood. I would say probably my all-time favourite films are Labyrinth. My mum took me to see that on my 16th birthday, so that has special memories for me. It's obviously got David Bowie in it as well. So I would say probably Labyrinth, and also Lost Boys, which is a vampire film. They're probably my 2 favourite films, but I've got so many different films that I love. It's kind of hard to narrow it down, but I'd say probably they are my favourite 2. Song-wise, probably long-term song I would say would be Life is a Roller Coaster by Ronan Keating, just because the lyrics are very apt for my life. My life has been nothing but a flipping roller coaster. More recently, I would say I absolutely love Ed Sheeran. He is local boy to where I live. He lives about 40-minute drive from where I am. So I can kind of identify with some of the lyrics of this song, because he's grown up in Suffolk in the UK, which is one of the counties in the UK. Yeah, I identify with a lot of his lyrics, and every song that he brings out I seem to love. So there are lots of his songs that I love. So I would say more recently it would be Ed Sheeran. Trying to think, probably Shape of You is one of my favourite ones, but there's so many that But yeah, so it's kind of a hard one. I love a lot of Linkin Park's stuff as well. Numb is one of my favourite songs as well. I have quite a varied taste in music, so it's kind of hard to pin down, but I would say probably those are. And last but very much not least is GodRocks2107 on YouTube, who is also known as the lovely Esmeralda. She asked, what other hobbies do you have or would you like to learn? Well, I've obviously answered the other hobbies bit a couple of times. So obviously that's the same answer as earlier. As far as what I would like to learn, I'd like to learn pyrography, I'm just make sure I say that right, which is basically wood burning. I have a special tool to burn patterns and designs and stuff on. I do have a kit for that, which I've got stashed in my shed, and I do want to have a go at some point, but it's got things like wooden spoons and key rings and stuff in the kit, but there's no bits to test on, so I've got to get some test wood before I can actually have a go at it. So I still haven't done that yet. It's one of those things, day-to-day life, I just don't think I need to go and get some wood from the hardware store. But that is something that I would like to learn longer term, just to try something a little bit different. When I was younger, my grandma, she had a open fire in the kitchen, and we've since had that removed, but when I was younger, obviously she would have coal fires, and it shows how old I am now, doesn't it? And I would quite often sit and I'd put the poker in the coal fire, and I would have bits of wood and I would burn things on there. And I know for my mum's 50th birthday, we're going back 20 odd years now, well, he wasn't my husband at the time, but I was dating him, so what is now my ex-husband made a bird table for my mum's 50th, and I wanted a number 50, and internet wasn't really much of a thing back then, so I got a piece of wood and I burnt it with my nana's poker onto the wood with the number 50. I'm not sure if she's still got that or not, because I think the bird table disintegrated, but so that's kind of where the interest for that particular craft is coming from, basically. So I hope that's explained it. Yeah, so that is all the questions. So just want to say thank you to everybody that submitted a question. I really do appreciate it. I'm sorry that this is such a long video, but obviously got to answer the questions. I have to go with the amount of questions I've got. So thank you to everybody that contributed. I really do appreciate it. I really hope that you have enjoyed watching this video. Don't forget, all the channels that I've mentioned will be linked down in the description. All the other bits and bobs, like Jayda's tutorial and Margaret's hat pattern stuff, will all be down in the description as well. So that's it for the 100th vlog. I can't believe we've made it here. I am still planning to do a giveaway. Money is extraordinarily tight at the moment. I've got to have some work done on my car, so I'm just waiting for that bill to come in, and once that's done, then I can look at doing a giveaway. So what would you like to see for a giveaway? Would you like to see yarn, or would you like to see something else? Let me know down in the comments section. So that's it. So I hope you're all well wherever you are in the world, and thank you very much for joining me on this amazing journey that has been both crochet and YouTube. I really appreciate you all joining me, and I love interacting with you all. So thank you very much for making this a very special 100th vlog. So that's it. So until next time, remember to stay well, happy crafting, and until next time, remember to stay true to yourself. Bye.